Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to my Senate prediction videos. And we're going to take a look at another Senate race occurring this year. This is the Senate race in the state of Minnesota. Minnesota, the seat currently held by Democratic Senator Tina Smith. She is a member of the DFL, which is the Minnesota branch of the Democratic Party. It stands for Democratic Farm Labor Party. Smith is serving in her first partial term in the Senate. She was appointed to the Senate in 2018 after Senator Al Franken resigned because of sexual harassment complaints and was facing an ethics probe in the Senate. Prior to that, Tina Smith was the lieutenant governor of Minnesota. If reelected, she will serve her first full term. So she is currently in her first partial term in the Senate. In 2018, in the special election that was held after Smith's appointment to the Senate, she won that election by 10 percentage points, a little over 10.5 percentage points. The state has voted for every Democratic presidential nominee since 1972. 1972 was the last time that it voted for a Republican, and it voted for Richard Nixon in that huge landslide that Nixon won in 72. It was the only state that voted for Walter Mondale in 1984, and it was his home state, and he barely won Minnesota. It was about a 3,000 vote margin that Mondale won the state by in 84. Mondale also won the District of Columbia that night, but Minnesota was the only state that Mondale won on that night. It was won, obviously, by Hillary Clinton in 2016 by a little over 1.5 percentage points. It was very close and surprised a lot of people by how close it was, because there was not a lot of campaigning done in Minnesota. There was some late campaigning done in Minnesota by Trump, but a lot of people didn't think that Trump really had a shot in Minnesota. I believe that Biden is going to win Minnesota. Minnesota is one of these places that it's always considered a swing state, but at the end of the night, it goes Democratic. Recent polls have shown Biden with a pretty nice lead in Minnesota. I think it'll be close, but I think in the end, Biden is going to win Minnesota. He will continue the streak of Democratic presidential candidates winning the state. So let's take a look at our two nominees. The Democratic nominee is the current incumbent, Senator Tina Smith. As I said before, former lieutenant governor prior to her being appointed to the Senate in 2018. The Republican nominee is a man by the name of Jason Lewis. Lewis was a one-term congressman from 2017 to 2019 from Minnesota. Prior to that, he had a career as a radio talk show host. And when you're a radio talk show host, there are tapes of comments that you make, and Lewis had a pretty lengthy career in radio, and prior to his 2018 race, CNN and other uh, groups and people went back and listened to his tapes, and lordy, did those tapes have some really interesting things on them. He was a huge target of Democrats in that election, and they took him down and defeated him. And shortly after his defeat in 2018 and 2019, he announced that he would be running for the United States Senate. If you go by the basis of votes that were cast in the primary, a little over 500,000 votes were cast for the Democratic candidate. 570,941 votes were cast for Democratic candidates, and a little under 245,000 votes were cast for Republican candidates. 244,891. That averages out to about a 69-31 in terms of percentages there. So pretty clear, I think, at least in the primary returns, who had the upper hand. And I believe in the general election it will be much the same. Lewis was, as I said, he was defeated in 2018 in a banner year for Democrats, and 2020 is shaping up to be a banner year for Democrats as well. As I said, he was a one-term congressman who was defeated. Now, if Lewis had been reelected with all of the allegations against him in 2018, I think he would be a little bit stronger candidate. I don't think he would win, but I think he would be a stronger candidate and have a more compelling case to make that, hey, I'm a viable candidate. I don't think he is. I think Lewis probably is going to go down to a massive defeat. He's going to hurt the Republicans' chances of picking up Minnesota. I think if Republicans in Minnesota had been more sensible and picked maybe a more mainstream candidate, they would have a better chance at picking up this seat. I think it would still be a high lift, but I don't see Jason Lewis being the next senator from Minnesota. So my final prediction is that Tina Smith wins re-election to the U.S. Senate, and wins her first full term in the body. So my prediction is that Tina Smith wins and serves her first full term in the Senate. I'll see you all later.